If you look in a study they did in a survey, that the average worker, like service worker in this country, watches 30 hours of television a week. Children, they say 40 to 60 hours of television a week. A full-time job.
Children as early as 5 or 6 who are becoming myopic, and that's one of the concerns that we have, is the earlier onset than we used to see perhaps 20 years ago.
Watching nonsense. When you go to the managers of these people, they watch 20 hours a week. When you go to the overseer, then you get like 10 hours a week. When you get to the CEOs, they watch 2 to 3 hours of television a week. 50% of that material is material related to the work that they're doing. So the movers and shakers in this world are not sitting around watching television. They're utilizing their lives for shar, for evil.
A new development in America's relationship with Israel. President Biden plans to send the country another $1 billion in military aid.
The blessing of a new Middle East between Israel, Saudi Arabia, and our other neighbors.
Is a detailed and dangerous plan called Project 2025 that the former president intends on implementing if he were elected
deadliest
again.
attack the region has seen this century.
To escalate. Serious escalation in years.
And they're spreading their facade all over the world, but they're busy at it. And the Muslims are asleep. And because we have gone to sleep, they have taken over.
Literally wiped the West Bank off that map. Is that official policy now, that the West Bank doesn't exist?
No.
We're saddened by the fate of the Palestinians.
Because we have gone to sleep, they have taken over. And that's why we find ourselves in the horrific position we find ourselves in. And until the Muslims wake up, it's just going to one nightmare to another.
This is a population of 2 million Palestinians who live there.
Didn't get into that.
She's been very, very bad to Israel. I gave them Golan Heights. I gave them the capital of Israel, Jerusalem. I even built the embassy.
My entire career and life supported
We're just going to be in one nightmare to another. That's all it is. They're just nightmares because we're asleep. And when we wake up, then we can enter into the light of day. And Islam is a deen about waking up. Islam is not an opiate. There are other religions that fulfill that function. In fact, they got rid of religion and now they just spread opium, quite literally. The same people that used to control the state, that controlled religion to maintain the masses, to do what they want them to do, when they got rid of religion, when they found it was no longer useful, now they literally spread drugs. You can see this. The CIA in this country is directly involved and engaged in drug dealing, bringing in cocaine, putting it into the inner cities in this country. This is not a joke. I'm not making this stuff up. Of people within these organizations that admit this. They'll even admit this on 60 Minutes.
A ton of cocaine, pure cocaine worth hundreds of millions, is smuggled into the United States. Sound familiar? Not the way this ton of cocaine got here. According to what the former head of the Drug Enforcement Administration told Mike Wallace, this drug shipment got here courtesy of what he calls drug trafficking by the CIA in partnership with the Venezuelan National Guard.
I mean, this is not a joke. This is reality, people. There are people that want to keep you asleep. If they don't use the drugs of white powder, they'll use the drug of television, they'll use the drug of their mass media, they'll use all these drugs, but they're going to keep you asleep because they fear the day that you wake up. That's what they fear. And you should be very well aware of that. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us this in the Quran. To show Fir'aun, all these political tyrants, and to show Haman, all these multinational economic, political, economic powers that are literally subjugating, humiliating, stealing the minerals and resources of Muslims and human beings all over the world in order for them to play golf on the weekends. And then you have Junuduhuma, those like the Pentagon and all these powerful militaries that go around tyrannizing people and humiliating people, bombing innocent civilians, gassing human beings. We had Kurdish human beings that were gassed. Be aware of that, people. Kurdish human beings living in villages, mothers with their babies gassed by these people. This is how they feel about human beings. This is how they feel about it. Those gas bombs weren't made in those countries. They're made by the same people that bring good things to life. I mean, it's not a joke.
Palestine was under the Ottoman Empire for 400 years, but today an Ottoman is something you put under your feet.
It's going to harm us if we boycott. Yeah? So boycotting, that's why many of the ulama, they said boycotting is haram. You come and say to the people, hey, don't buy from them. Why? Who are you? What authority do you have?
We're dealing with monsters.
Israel is a criminal.
This is reality, people. This is reality. And if you don't like it, go back to sleep.
كل دم نزف في قطاع غزة وكل بيت هدم على الساكنة وكل ولد قتل في مستشفى أو غيره وكل امرأة قتلت أو هجرت في قطاع غزة وكل من مات من الجوع والعطش وكل مريض مات بسبب انقطاع الدواء في هذا القطاع دمه في أعناق حكام المسلمين.
If Russia uses a nuclear weapon in Ukraine, Vladimir Putin has signed his personal death warrant.
Blinken, go home. We don't want Polish people paying and dying for your wars.
Would anybody like to be in war with Russia? If necessary, we would. We're not, you know.
זכור את אשר עשה לך עמלק להצטווה. אנו זוכרים ואנו נלחמים.
Russia would struggle to sustain its assault on Ukraine without China's support.
I'm glad you brought up sovereignty and territorial integrity. Your position is that that is paramount. Sovereignty?
That's paramount.
Okay.
For the Chinese nation, that's paramount.
If it's paramount, why isn't the Chinese government supporting Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity?
As we told China for some time, ensuring transatlantic security is a core U.S. interest. In our discussions today, I made clear that if China does not address this problem, we will.
Victor, that's not what I asked. Do you condemn the Russian invasion?
I condemn the American invasion of Iraq.
Fantastic.
American
so do I.
Invasion of Afghanistan.
So do I. Great.
Yes.
We're doing great. Okay, so we both agree.
But this is right. You're all adults and you better start just being aware of what kind of world we're living in and what we have to do to make some changes. Because the changes aren't going to come around if we just keep sleeping along, dozing along, putting on the snooze button. Because the alarm clock keeps going off. Allah's given us enough warning and we just sit around. But Allah says that He promises to show Fir'aun, Haman, and his armies what they were fearing from these people. You see, when the day that they wake up, the day that they say we're not going to take any more. I mean, this is what has to happen. But if we stay in this state of just taking in all these things and believing all the lies and going on as if nothing's going to get better and change, Muslims, we don't despair. Muslims are not people of despair. This is not our deen. We're people of hope. We're people of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah is our Mawla. Allah is our Mawla. And we should be aware, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. There is no strength and no power except by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That we have to become people of jid, of seriousness. People that are worthy of this deen. People that are worthy of this deen. If you read the stories of those who went before, when they asked them, what was Ibn Umar like? They asked Nafi', the servant of Ibn Umar, what was he like? Wallahi la tutiqunahu. The man said, don't ask me about it, because you'll never do what he did. They said, well, what did he do? He said he did wudu for every prayer. And between the prayers, he was either occupied in important matters or reciting the Quran. These were people of depth and seriousness. They weren't frivolous people. They went and they literally spread this deen to the ends of the earth.
The title of this talk is How Islam Saved Western Civilization. For the record, I believe that that is a totally accurate statement.
And around that period, that 300-year period, the intellectual center of the world was Baghdad.
The 10 most well-known and memorable humans to have ever existed so far. At number 1, Muhammad.
Then I thought maybe Islam's the answer.
And it was that period where you had the advances in like engineering and biology and medicine and mathematics.
And this is not pie-in-the-sky rhetoric. This is not pie-in-the-sky rhetoric. Our deen is not a deen of rhetoric. It's a deen of action. It's not a deen of eloquent words. It's a deen of doing things, of going out and changing the world. And the people in this room have the potential to do that. The people in this room, you have the potential to do that if you're willing to rise up to the level of the deen. But if you choose to remain in your sleep, in your somnambulate states, if we choose all to just carry along, mosey along, go to the mall, become consumers until we're consumed, born to buy, the one with the most toys in the end wins, he still dies, right? The toys don't go with you. And we're not people of play. We're not people of play. Quran says that Allah didn't create this world as a play and a pastime. It's not for playing and pastime. It's not for sport. I mean, wallahi, You're men. You're not children. You're men. Don't waste your time watching sports on the CNN or whatever you watch it on. Get up and do something with your lives. Become serious people of depth and understanding. I mean, really, do it. Just do it, right? Just get out and do it. Don't just sit around and until the next game's on and they'll just keep giving it to you. They'll give it to you. They'll give you football, and then they'll give you baseball, and then they'll give you basketball, and then they'll give you football again, and then they'll give you baseball, and then they'll give you basketball. They'll keep churning out the songs for you, one after another. They'll bring the new pop stars. They'll bring the new actresses with the beautiful faces. They'll bring the new designs, the latest fashion, the latest fad. They'll just keep doing it for you. They'll keep churning it out as long as you keep eating it up and buying it. The day that you turn it off is the day that you have overcome them. That is the day that we have had victory. The day that we say we turn it off, we turn all this rubbish off.
Because the only truth you know is what you get over this tube. This tube can make or break presidents, popes, prime ministers. This tube is the most awesome goddamn force in the whole godless world. Television is a goddamn amusement park. Television is a circus, a carnival, a traveling troupe of acrobats, storytellers, dancers, singers, jugglers, sideshow freaks, lion tamers, and football players. We're in the boredom-killing business. We deal in illusions, man. None of it is true. But you people sit there day after day, night after night, all ages, colors, creeds. We're all you know. You're beginning to believe the illusions we're spinning here. You're beginning to think that the tube is reality and that your own lives are unreal. You do whatever the tube tells you. You dress like the tube. You eat like the tube. You raise your children like the tube. You even think like the tube. This is mass madness, you maniacs. In God's name, you people are the real thing. We are the illusion. So turn off your television sets. Turn them off now. Turn them off right now. Turn them off and leave them off. Turn them off right in the middle of the sentence I'm speaking to you now. Turn them off.
That's the day that we have victory. But until that day comes, we're just going to go from one nightmare to another. As an ummah, we need to rise up to the level of this deen. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم. السلام عليكم.